In this video, I'm going to go through intuitive eating, a bit of flexible dieting, how to approach your diet once you've finished it, or how to approach your diet if tracking calories sends you into a bit of a frenzy. I have multiple clients who have struggled with disordered eating in the past, who data to them causes them more stress and anxiety than it does actually make it easier to make progress. Counting calories and tracking your macros and following a meal plan can get you to your goal of weight loss or weight gain quicker than anything else. It's simply data. But the problem is if you struggle with any type of disordered eating, if you struggle with knowing how to eat without your calorie counting app, then you need a different approach. And that different approach is going to be intuitive eating. Intuitive eating, to some degree, is a combination of flexible dieting and checking in with your own hunger cues, your satiety signals, and just your emotion. I'm going to explain who it's for, why you might want to do it, and how to do it. So first, the problem. The problem with most traditional diets is they give you a structure and a system to achieve fat loss. Counting your calories is a way to create fat loss. And what happens to most people is they track their calories, they lose weight, they then eventually stop tracking their calories because they've hit their goal, and weight regain starts to happen. Intuitive eating can be a solution to that. The second problem is people who struggle with disordered eating. If you struggle with any type of counting calories and what that does to you mentally, the stress that it puts you under, then we need to find a better way and a solution to help you achieve your health and fitness goals, to create the body that you're confident in without creating a shit ton of anxiety and stress. The reason I think intuitive eating could be the key to success for a lot of people is because it starts to take away the data and starts to get you really in tune with yourself. And I think pairing this with data is actually the best approach. You see, like, flexible dieting is all about trying to cause you less stress. It's about allowing yourself things that you enjoy. If it fits your macros was something that came out ages ago, which basically said that as long as it fits the calorie targets you're trying to hit and the macronutrient targets you're trying to hit, then you can eat whatever you want. And flexible dieting is a iteration and a kind of step forward in that approach, which is allowing yourself to consume the foods that you want to consume, not guilting yourself for doing it, but then still being able to move towards the goal that you want. And that's the whole approach and why I think it can be really good. I think that if you can track calories to teach you about foods, what's in foods and what's best for you to eat, and then pairing it with intuitive eating, and especially using this when you come out of a diet, it does allow you to then live life a bit normally while still maintaining your current physique or maintaining the kind of fat loss that you have just created, but not removing yourself from the social situations that sometimes calorie tracking can. Like I've said, use calorie counting as a tool and use intuitive eating to really check in with yourself. Again, if you're someone who struggles with disordered eating, then tracking calories definitely isn't the option from you. You want to stay away from data probably as much as possible and stay away from real control. But this allows you to kind of have some control over your food, but by truly checking in with how you're feeling, overriding those emotional feelings that you have. So I've mentioned who it's for. Now, why should you potentially use it? A few things that I would like you to think about is, do you feel like you're ruled by food? Do you feel like tracking your calories and counting calories and trying to hit your macros is actually taking away from your life? Is it consuming a large part of your life where you could be involved with the world socially? Now, the caveat to all of this is your goal has to come first. I'm a big proponent of goal comes first, and we orientate our life to kind of aim everything towards this goal that we have set. So if your goal is to step on stage, I'm going to tell you to count your calories. But if your goal is to create a life where you can be involved and be present, and you can maintain your current physique and even create some fat loss if you want to, just without the anxieties and stresses that come with counting calories and tracking macros. Because if that is you, then this is a really good approach. I think this is for someone who struggles with food guilt. So you might want to use this if you always feel guilty every single time that you go to eat a meal. You go to eat some food, you feel guilty if you have a pizza, you feel guilty if you skip one of your healthy meals for something unhealthy. This approach and this flexible dieting and intuitive eating approach, the headline to it is you can eat whatever you want, you just can't eat all of it. So You can have a pizza, but you need to swap that for something else. It's about balancing your wants and needs. And I'm going to go through a little process of how to do it in a second. You also might want to do intuitive eating if you are someone who has just finished a diet and you want to transition back into normal life. Now, if you have just done a harsh diet and lost a lot of body weight and you've got down to a really low body fat percentage, I'm thinking like a bodybuilder competitor or something like that, then intuitive eating might not be a good shout because your hunger cues and your satiety cues, they won't be there. Your hunger hormones and satiety hormones will be all over the place since dieting for that severely, that harshly, and for that long. So transitioning out is going to be quite difficult. And this is where pairing intuitive eating with your calories is really important. Sticking to some kind of calorie target and still taking note of if that food is helping you to feel full or not. Because as soon as you start to feel full from the foods that you're eating, the chances are your hormones are starting to regulate themselves. If you are someone who has gone past that period or your diet hasn't been that harsh and you want to transition back into normal life, it's going to be really good for you to do this because it's going to allow you to balance the urge to eat and the want to eat socially with friends and eat meals off plan with your goal of trying to maintain your physique. So maintaining your physique can be really easy using intuitive eating and trying to get really aware of your own hunger signals so you don't look to gain the weight back again. So how to intuitively eat. I had a meeting with a client today and I asked her what she does from a nutritional perspective currently. She's a new client just about to start. She worked night shifts, so her response to me was, well, as my father says, eat when you're hungry and drink when you're dry. And that kind of sums up intuitive eating. So I'm going to give you a step-by-step guide on how you intuitively eat, what to think about and what to implement into your life, and also why we ask these questions and why we get you to think about these things. The first question is, am I hungry? This is a simple question that needs to be responded to in multiple different ways. If you're starving, then that could lead to you making bad decisions from a food perspective. It may mean that you overeat because you're so hungry and your hunger signals are through the roof. The question of am I hungry is all about checking into those hunger signals. If you respond with, I am quite hungry, I'm not starving, but I definitely am hungry, then it's time to eat. While you're eating, part of it is checking again. Am I hungry? If the answer is yes, then you can continue to eat. If the answer is no, then you stop. Before you even take your first bite, if your answer is, am I hungry? And you're like, I'm not really sure. This is where we can use the apple test. Now, the apple test is a case of going, am I hungry? Your brain says yes. And you go, well, if I'm hungry, will I eat an apple? This question helps you to identify whether it's a craving or whether you actually are hungry or not. Identifying that is going to then help you to make progress within your diet because you can then decide if I want to eat a meal or if I am just craving something and therefore I am not actually hungry. The next question is about balancing your wants and needs. What are foods that are going to help me get towards my goal? These could be foods such as hitting your protein targets, making sure I'm having protein in every meal. This could be foods like not having so much fat in this meal because you are trying to lose weight. The next question is going to be, what foods make me feel full? Because you want your plate and your diet that you're going to eat to help you with satiety and help you with those hunger signals. The next question is, what foods make me feel good after? This is a really important question because you want your diet to consist of foods that give you energy and that after you've ate them, you don't feel bad and guilty. And then the final one is asking yourself which foods you actually fancy. This is about trying to figure out, is there something that I fancy right now that I can incorporate into my diet? Or is there some changes I can make to have some kind of food which is similar to this in a healthy way? It's about managing the foods that you want alongside your goals. The next step of intuitive eating is eating mindfully. It's taking your time to consume foods and not be distracted. It's about not eating in front of the TV, not eating while scrolling on your phone, and trying to savor your food. Actually trying to identify the flavors, trying to chew your food more, and just taking your time with it. Things like putting your knife and fork down between bites or just having some food and taking a sip of water in between your next bite. This slows down the food process. This could then start to help you engage in the process that we do all of the time, which is socially eating. Have a bit of food, speak to the person you're eating dinner with, and then go from there. This slows things down. This makes it more of a mindful practice, and this stops you, especially if you're a type A person, from rushing and trying to nail food down as quickly as possible so you can move on to the next task. So I mentioned this before, but the next step is listening to your satiety cues, checking in with your hunger signals, asking yourself throughout the meal, am I still hungry? If you are, continue to eat. And then asking yourself, am I full? It's about stopping when you've had enough. Checking in with your satiety cues pairs really nicely with eating mindfully, because if you slow down, you give your body a chance to tell you when it's full. You don't ever want to finish a meal feeling stuffed and to the brim. If your goal is to maintain your weight or even lose weight, then you don't want to be feeling like that at all. Maintaining your weight, you want to feel reasonably satisfied with a meal, not too full and not feeling hungry. If your goal is to lose weight, then you want to kind of finish that meal going, I maybe could have ate a little bit more, but overall I'm pretty satisfied. The next one is to deal with the disordered eating, and that is because a lot of people use food as a coping mechanism. That if they have a bad day, they're stressed or emotional, that they lean on foods to help them to feel better. Intuitive eating is about trying to find different ways to cope with your emotions. It's being aware of the emotions that you have that lead you to consume certain foods. And that leads me on to my next point, which is checking in after the meal. You just ate something. Say it's a pizza or say it's chicken, rice, and broccoli. Either way, ask yourself afterwards, how did that make me feel? What is my energy like after that meal? Do I feel guilty? And challenging that thought process of why you felt guilty. And then asking yourself, what made me choose that meal? Because you want your meals to be decided based upon you achieving your goals and you feeling better and you not being dictated by food, but you making that conscious choice. So constantly checking in before a meal, during the meal, and after the meal is going to help you do that the best. The next is about being kind and conscious and understanding how flexible dieting and intuitive eating works. You be kind to yourself by not guilt-tripping yourself after you've had something to eat. It's not about telling yourself off or punishing yourself for eating something you wanted to eat. It's about checking in with your hunger signals and checking in with your satiety cues. It's about checking in and asking yourself, am I craving foods or am I just hungry? You need to not be so black and white with foods, and that is what this step is all about. It's about being kind enough to yourself to not label foods as good or label foods as bad. It's about allowing yourself to eat foods in moderation. You can have whatever you want, but just make sure that you're consuming foods that are going to make you feel good in the long run, not just the short term. And the last couple of points is about just taking note of how you felt. I've already mentioned after a meal, checking in with yourself, how did that make you feel? And I think it's a really good idea to do straight away and then a couple of hours after the food. The goal about this is to try to create a diet which helps you to feel better and move closer towards the life that you want and the person you want to be. If you are using this to create fat loss, then we want to be choosing foods that help us to feel full, have protein in every meal, and foods that are going to help us to sustain or maintain or build muscle, as well as losing body fat at the same time. And having whole foods is going to be the biggest option for us and the best option for us, because it's going to allow us to have 80% of our foods from whole foods, 20% from something else, which kind of tops up the kind of enjoyment bucket. If you think 80% of your focus needs to be on things that move you towards the life and the goal that you have, and then 20% needs to allow you to refill that cup so you can move towards that life and the goal that you have. It's about enjoying things but in moderation, and it's about being really conscious about your cues, how you're feeling, and how foods make you feel. So why should you use intuitive eating? To me, the answer is very, very simple. It comes down to breaking the yo-yo diet. And it comes down to breaking your feelings around guilt and your feelings and emotions connected to food. I've had a lot of clients who label foods good and bad. Intuitive eating destroys that completely. Hopefully this video helps. My name's Charlie and this is Hack the Body, Hack the Mind. My goal is to help improve people's mental health and improve people's confidence by getting them a bit bigger, a bit stronger, allowing them to create the body and mind that they want to. If you have enjoyed this video, please give us a subscribe and send this to a friend. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you on the next one.